Hello, folks. Welcome to our career spotlight today with DJ LaFrance. He is working with STARS Air Ambulance and doing some maintenance work for them. The Regina District Industry Education Council is proud to bring these spotlights to help students make informed decisions. Any students watching this, please take the time to fill in the survey and get yourself entered into a $50 gift certificate raffle. Thank you.
Okay, is this where I just start?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is DJ LaFrance. I'm a licensed aircraft maintenance engineer. I've been licensed for 20 years. I graduated from the aircraft maintenance technology program at SAIT in Calgary, Alberta in 1999. I worked at a company called Air Tindy Limited in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories between my first and second year. And after I graduated in 2001, I started working at STARS Air Ambulance. It's a helicopter air ambulance service that's currently operating 6 bases in Western Canada. When I first started working for STARS, I was a mechanic on the floor, actually maintaining the aircraft. And in 2011, I became a manager. I was a technical project manager from 2011 to 2017. And then I became the production manager after that from 2017 to 2019. And I'm currently the fleet support manager from 2019 to now. So an aircraft maintenance engineer, if you are working on the aircraft, you maintain, inspect, repair, and modify aircraft in accordance with Canadian aviation regulations. Some of the duties that you have, you ensure that you carry out proper documentation of the work that you do in the aircraft records. You ensure that the parts you use have the proper documentation and traceability. You ensure that the tools that you use are correct and calibrated if required. And you may have to invest in your own hand tools depending on the organization that you work for. You must be able to read and interpret technical documentation and drawings. You have to be able to communicate effectively with pilots, maintenance, other maintenance engineers or the team, and possibly the aircraft owner if you are working for yourself as a contractor or if you own your own company. And you must be able to work alone or as part of a team. If you are in a management role in an aircraft maintenance organization, you must be able to lead other AMEs in projects. So working at STARS as a production manager, I led a staff of 20 full-time and contract aircraft maintenance engineers and worked on planning and executing the maintenance that was required. As a project manager, I participated in purchasing new aircraft, replacing the old aircraft, overhauling machines, doing modifications, participated in other roles like base expansions, and was a crew chief for special projects. Currently, as a fleet support manager, I manage long-term aircraft maintenance on the fleet. I manage staff in various departments such as technical records, quality assurance, logistics, part purchasing, and shipping and receiving. As a manager, you will have to know how to do financial planning and budgeting and be able to liaise with government inspectors. some of the equipment and spaces that you'll be working in. You could be working inside a hangar or outside in all conditions. You could be working day shift or night shift. You must be able to work on ladders, stands, and use suspension gear. You could be working in small or awkward spaces. You need to be able to use hand tools, either your own personal tools or tools provided by your company. There are aircraft specific special tools that you will be using. And that's dependent on what type of aircraft or whether it's a helicopter or airplane. They all have different types required. And you'll be using aircraft ground support equipment. So that could be test stands, hydraulic units, power units, big and small. There's lots of different types. And you must be competent with computers. Lots of aircraft now use laptops that you plug in or connect wirelessly with, and they, just like your car, they do diagnostic scanning and testing. We have software that you use to put in the work that you've done, and it tracks the inspections and the component times. And you must be able to use office type software for emailing, word processing, or working with spreadsheets. Some likely unknown duties that you may not realize that you come with the job are having to repair non-aircraft related equipment around the base that you're working at, such as pilot helmets, ground power units, special aircraft tools, night vision goggles, or other emergency equipment. You'll probably have to attend team and safety meetings. You will need to carry out recurrent training for your company policies and procedures, and also human factors in aviation. You'll need to be able to manage conflict with people from different departments or owners, like pilots, other aircraft maintenance engineers, or the owners of the aircraft. You'll probably be supervising and teaching apprentices, because as an aircraft maintenance engineer, you have to apprentice for a few years and keep a logbook, so that in order to get licensed, you have to submit that to the government. And you have to stay up to date on company policies and federal regulations. Some of the rewarding aspects of being an aircraft maintenance engineer are you get to work and be around aviation. So you see lots of different types of aircraft. You can work as an employee for an organization, or you can be a contractor or start your own company. It's fun to go on test flights. You get the satisfaction of fixing problems, troubleshooting to find root causes of issues. You can maintain high standards in your work. You get to travel and meet new people. And working at STARS, it's rewarding to work for a charity that helps people on their worst day. Some of the challenges or stressors working as an aircraft maintenance engineer are noise. Aircraft can make a lot of noise, and so does the shop equipment that you could be working with. You'll be working in all weather conditions. Lots of times you're working outside, and you're subject to whatever weather comes along. The physical demands of working on big machines, you're carrying some heavy parts up ladders and up maintenance stands. So there's lifting and being in awkward positions sometimes. A lot of times you're working with dangerous products and materials. There's some of the consumable materials like the greases and the oils and lubricants can be hazardous to your health. Working around aircraft, there's lots of moving parts. There's propellers and main rotor and tail rotor blades. There's drive shafts that you need to be aware of what's going on around you. And managing human factors. So human factors are things like fatigue, like if you're tired, if you get distracted, if you're feeling pressure, you need to be able to recognize and manage that so that you can reduce errors. Management, you're working with people, you have coworkers, there's pilots, there's pressures from owners or some company, an executive team that are, could be trying to reduce aircraft downtime and costs. So you might have to manage that. And you have to be able to maintain your standards and your high level of safety. So your general salary when you're first starting out as an apprentice could be $35,000 a year. And if you manage to get into an executive management position or the owner of a company, it could be like $200,000 plus. I know people that have worked overseas as contractors and they can make that kind of money. The benefits depends on your employer. If you're working for an organization, you could get full medical, dental, life. A lot of companies are matching RRSP contributions that you deduct from your paycheck, and that's because a lot of companies don't have pensions. So their pensions are very rare. Like unless you join the military, military provides a pension, and there are you can be an aircraft maintenance engineer as well. Holidays are as an AME, you're kind of federally regulated, so you follow the federal holiday regulations and the hours of work generally. And yeah, your work hours, you could be working day or night shift. Overtime is usually expected, but it does depend on your employer. And if you're a contractor or working for your own company, obviously that you could be working more than your standard work week. Some supports and professional development. There's Transport Canada requirements. You need to have the aircraft that you're working on as a specific type. So you need that type specific maintenance course in order to certify the maintenance that you've done on that aircraft. So there's avionics, that's the electrical portion, the airframe, that's the hull itself and the systems within it, and then the engines. So generally those are the three types of courses that you would take. And depending on if you're working for a organization, sometimes that's the employer will send you on those courses. If you are a contractor, then generally that was something that you would have to obtain on your own in order to get those jobs. You'll need to take courses concerning human factors in aviation so that you can be able to manage your own like fatigue and pressure. There's a whole series of issues about human factors because the majority of accidents and incidents in aviation now are caused by human factors, not by the actual aircraft itself, like the design and parts don't generally fail anymore. Now it's more caused by the human factors. So that's something that you would need to get training on for that. And then there's company-specific training that you need, such as the policies and procedures for specific companies. They're all different. And possibly management courses if the organization wants to elevate you into management positions. There's lots of different types of courses for aircraft management. There's planning, maintenance, there's budgeting, there's leadership and safety, and they're all available from various associations. There's business or associations, there's passenger transport associations, there's the helicopter associations, both within Canada and international. For computer and information technology support, that generally depends on your employer, because everybody kind of uses a different type of maintenance planning software. Unions, there's generally not a lot of unions for AMEs in general aviation. Some of the larger airlines have unions, but it's not very widespread. There's geographic AME associations. There's one in each region. There's the Pacific, there's a Western, Prairie and Western Association, and then there's Ontario and Quebec. So there's different associations that you can join for that. There's lots of opportunities in the field for people that have their AME license, or even if you want to apprentice. There's currently a shortage in the avionics field, structures, airframe and engine. There's shortages in fixed wing, which is like your general airplane, and rotary wing, which is a helicopter. There's shortages in the military for airlines and in the helicopter field. So there's lots of opportunities out there. Before COVID, there was lots of ability to travel overseas, either for Canadian organizations or for foreign companies. I think things are starting to open up there again. You can start your own company. You can work as a contractor, or you can work as an employee for an organization. There's lots of room for advancement. You can you can work as just an engineer on the floor, and you can advance to become a crew chief, a maintenance manager. You can be the director of maintenance, which is also called the person responsible for maintenance, or PRM. And that's the person that the organization says is responsible for that company to ensure that the maintenance done on those aircraft are done in accordance with the regulations. And it's possible that you could even get into the executive levels with extra education, business degrees or management degrees. Some related fields for an aircraft maintenance engineer: you could get into becoming a pilot. You could be an owner of an aircraft or a leasing company or a maintenance company. You can get into manufacturing, consulting, safety, become an instructor at a school, and also non-destructive testing. Work-life balance really depends on who you're working for. It varies widely, depends on what the role you're in, depends on what the organization does, if it's an airline or if it's a small mom and pop shop. Hours are generally federally regulated, but again, it really depends on where you're working and who you're working for. Day and night shifts are very common. You can also do weekly shifts, week on and week off, or monthly shifts, month on and month off, depending on the operation and where it is. So a lot of companies, you could be working in South America for a month on, month off, or 6 weeks on, 3 weeks off. That's very common. Time off depends on your employer. Same with holidays. Holidays are generally federal holidays only. Overtime is usually expected and compensated at time and a half normally. A lot of times you may be required to be on call for a 24/7 air ambulance operation. The engineers that we have working for us are on call 24/7, and they usually do a 1 week on, 1 week off shift. Does anybody have any questions?
DJ, you went to SAIT, and I know that Manitoba has a course as well. When you do your courses, do they touch on helicopters and fixed wing both? Or do you specialize kind of when you come out?
No, when you go to an accredited school, you'll learn everything from small piston aircraft to large turbine powered aircraft, helicopters and fixed wing. So and all the systems as well. So landing gear, flight controls, hydraulics, oxygen systems, emergency systems, things like that. Like you learn everything. And then depending on what organization you work for, that's where you have to keep a logbook to keep track of all of your experience. And then when you get enough sufficient experience, then you submit that to Transport Canada in order to get approval to write the regulations exam, and then you can are granted your license.
So I know that it's kind of classed as an apprenticeable trade in some jurisdictions in the province, or in the country, I should say. Do you have to apprentice for a while and work under somebody? How does that work?
Yes, it's you do have to apprentice, and it depends on what school you go to. So if you go to an accredited school, the time that you are in school gets credited towards your apprenticeship. And so it's a 4-year apprenticeship. So I went to SAIT, which was a 2-year course, and my 4-year apprenticeship was credited the time I went to school.
Yeah, 2 more years.
Yeah, so I apprenticed for just over 2 years before I was able to write my exam. And I was able to, the company that I worked for, I was able to get enough experience in my logbook to write the exam.
Right. And when you wrote those exams, do you write them for specific target aircraft, or that it's a general as well?
No, it's general. So when I went through, used to have specific exams for every kind of subject. So you used to have to write a turbine engine exam, and there was a piston exam, and then there was like a general exam. But now that's all done in school. So a lot of those exams are done in school. And then so you only have to write the regulatory exam at the end once you're experienced enough.
Oh. I can't think of any more questions. How about you, Gord?
No, I just lots of responsibility when you're maintaining aircraft. It's a little bit different from being an automobile mechanic, and you've got to be. But the automobile mechanic, you've got vehicles going down the road at 60 miles an hour as well. So you've got a responsibility to do the work right in order to maintain your license, which is, I'm sure, the same way with you. Having been in the industry, what do you love about it? What attracted you there in the first place?
Well, I just loved flying. Like I became a pilot before I became a AME. I just loved being around aircraft. I loved the technology. I love talking to people. I love that have flown in different things. There's just there's so much variety in aviation. You just don't see that in in the automotive or doing that kind of work. So it's really rewarding. Like there's a lot of I guess you have to maintain a high standard, and when you can do that, and I mean, for me, I really enjoy that. I like the meticulousness of the work. It's you have to understand how a lot of different things interact. Like you need to know a lot of different subjects. Like you need to know your electrical systems. You need to know hydraulics. You need to know aerodynamics. So it's it's a lot of different things that you can apply when you do your work, and it's not just understanding it in your head, but you need to be able to apply it physically in what you're doing. So you need to have a level of how do you say, you need to be able to use tools. You need to be kind of handy. You need to be able to think of, if I do this, how is it going to impact that? So it's it's fun. It's
a lot of challenge for sure.
Yeah, a lot of challenge, and that love of flying in aviation. I think really helps for a young person if you've got a love of that area. This is a cool way to be involved and really high demand, as you said. So thank you very much for the presentation tonight. Lots of good information.